How are you looking? How are you looking team-wise after the enforced international break?
Yeah, pretty good. The only ones that are still getting there are Robbie Brady, you'll have seen, came off and he's definitely not going to make it. We're waiting on the results of scans and stuff for how long that's going to be. But it looks one that's going to keep him out a few weeks at least. I don't think it's going to be days in that one. And Barnsley's making good progress. He's not quite there yet, but he's making really good progress and coming through his training programme. So we're hopeful that that's going to be sooner rather than later. But he will need a bit of training with the players rather than just throwing him straight back in. Obviously, with the game schedule is a bit more helpful now, as you know, week to week rather than the 3-game weeks.
Have you had to put an arm around the shoulder of Dwight McNeil after what happened to him in England during the week?
No, not at all. No. He's rounded enough now. He's getting there. He's still obviously maturing. And growing into what he does, but he's rounded enough to know, we've had a few knocks ourselves at Burnley, so, when things don't quite go for you, then you have to learn how to deal with that, and he's done great with that. The number of times he's been at a challenge where he hasn't played well and then come through it and delivered, it's happened many times. So no, he's a mature young man, actually. He's making sense of it, and it's all part of his experience, all part of learning.
I'm just off of a Zoom to Steve Bruce, who said that the international break came at a good time for him, given the result against Brighton beforehand. When you look at the run that you're on and that terrific result at Everton, in many ways, did it come at a bad time for you because you're getting head of steam now?
No, it was a good time. I'm always indifferent about these breaks, but it was a good time, I felt, because we've been stretched to the limit more or less all season and the end of last season. So to try and use this period to get as many people fit as possible, or find a bit of rest for some, actually, to try and find that balance to what the team can deliver for the next 9 games, to the end of the season. And the kind of rest, the physical side of the performance, and also the mental side as well, because we've asked a lot of these players, because we have been stretched. We're getting bodies back fit now, which is good, adds to the sort of depth of the team and the squad. So actually, do you know what? I think, forgetting about performances, that I think it's good that this one came at this time, and I think it's going to be good for the group. Obviously, we won't know until the results start coming. We'll certainly have to work hard for them, but generally I think this break was needed for the group.
You've had some great results throughout the season, particularly on the road. You've only lost 1 in the last 7. Do you feel that you're kind of putting some form together right at the crucial stage?
Well, I think we had a real tough beginning of the season. Game 7, you got 2 points. I mean, it's not ideal, trust me, but there was a lot of reasons for that on and off the pitch. And I think since we've found our feet somewhat, I think the performance level and the consistency of performance, which is one of my many obsessions about what we do, I think that's grown. And I think, when you get your performance levels right and you find a consistency in doing so, then you obviously increase your chances of getting results. And I think that's been a key thing for me. And over that 7 games, I think there's been a good consistency, to performance. There's still things that we work to, of course. So therefore, you're kind of figuring that when everyone gets fit and properly fixed, there's a few still a bit short on true Premier League fitness, but their bodies are fit, then, the group can, in theory anyway, like I say, on paper it gets stronger. But we've still got to work hard for performances. That's been a key marker for us, all season. Our stats in second half of seasons are very good, our physical stats. All these things just give you a better chance of getting what you need to get. So I think we go into it in a strong mental framework, and we're virtually always, since I've been here, in good physical shape. So I expect them 2 things to be in place. And then you're asking the players to deliver the quality that they're going to need to win Premier League football matches.
Couple of stories, Sean, this week linking you with other jobs due to the great job you've done at Burnley. Have you spoken to the owners about plans beyond the season, long-term plans for both yourself and your players?
Yeah, I've not really bothered with myself. I've made it clear that I think the first objective, which it often is to be in the Premier League. So my focus is on that. I ask that of my players to make sure they're looking at it 1 game at a time. And that's clear for myself. I have to look beyond that, obviously, as a management side, but generally my focus is on the next game, and that's the most important thing. So that's myself cleared off. And the other thing, you know, I've been linked to clubs before. I'm still here. I always laugh about it, but I'm still here. And then the bigger picture of this club, of course, talks are ongoing with the chairman and the varying people that he's brought in, but mainly with the chairman about what the next steps are, you know, and what the club feel is right for the next steps. I think they are getting a grip on what they need to around the club. They're getting a feel of the people and how it operates. There's still more to go with that, of course, because they're still not all back in the workplace, as we all know. But I think there's a feel amongst their group, you know, of how they're getting used to what life here is about, you know, and then ongoing talks really about how they want to move it forward. So we'll see. You know, it's always building relationships, but I think it's very healthy between me and Alan at the moment, very open. So we'll see where that takes us.
I'm getting a sense then it's water off a duck's back when you read your name being linked with other clubs like that. Like, does it not affect you at all?
It's not that it's that. Look, it's a sign of respect from outside of your workplace, you know, but I value that, you know, in the sense of whether it's fact or fiction. It's still nice to be spoken about positively or generally positively. I'm sure there's a few who don't, but the fact is that it's happened to me many times, happened to my players many times here as well, which is a positive in the sense there must be some value in what we do here. But I'm still here. You know, I've said that for many years, many different connections with all sorts of different situations, but I'm still here. So I just focus on what the next job in hand is, and that's working hard with these players to make sure we continue our journey in the Premier League.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Thanks, Keith. Katie from Premier League Productions.
Hi, Sean. How you doing?
Hiya. Yeah, good, thanks.
How many lads did you have out on international duty? And you kind of mentioned about getting that balance at this time of rest, but also being ready for the next match rounds. Can you give us a bit more insight as to what the break will look like for the boys that did stay?
Well, it depends on the game time, of course. So Johan got good game time because he's sort of still come back to true fitness, sort of appropriately. Robbie obviously, you know, fell foul of injury, which is unfortunate. Dwight, he played good minutes, but he's a young, fit lad, and he's put back-to-back games. Goodness, Bailey played, obviously. Popey played, obviously. Vids was the only one got bits of football, but he's been playing quite regular for us. So there's been kind of an appropriate use. The only one is obviously Robbie with his injury. The rest of it has worked out pretty well. So we'll see how that goes. But, you know, I don't think they've been overworked, let's say, but they've had an appropriate amount of football, which I think will bode well for us.
Robbie must be a bit frustrated, though, now, because it's not really that long since he came back from the injury he got in February, right?
Yeah, he's had a real up and down time. I think his desperation to be fit and to be playing is something that, you know, is difficult it's difficult for players because they want to play, and sometimes you're like, well, you're probably not ready to play, but their thirst is to play, of course, particularly international football. So the risk and reward of playing, are you truly fit? Are you nearly fit? We've had that kind of situation with him for a long time now, you know, of that true Premier League fitness, as I call it. And he's been close and then got an injury, close, then got an injury. And unfortunately, he got injured again. So, you know, the thing is with the human body, you can have all the specialists you want. At the end of the day, when it's not right, it's not right. And you can only look for feedback from the player. And he said he was fine. He said he was clear. And unfortunately, it's cost him and us at this moment.
You said Barnes definitely isn't still ready to come back. But pre-break, we saw some great play between Chris Woods and Vidra, especially at Everton. What's clicked between these two?
I think more game understanding. We're playing together, obviously, because, you know, we work in training with different combinations, but it's not the same as when you're playing in, you know, the real thing. You can never quite get that level and intensity and the work and the feel of a performance when you're, you know, in training. So I think just time together, time actively playing together in the real stuff. And I think they're both rounded enough players. I think Vids can still improve in Premier League world. He's had an indifferent past in the Premier League, and even with ourselves, he hasn't always figured. But he's having a good little spell, and he's enjoying it, I think. And Woody's figured a lot more for us and a bit more rounded with the number of games and his experience level. You know, I've always thought Woody's a good campaigner anyway. But it is good when my two centre-forwards link, because I do like playing with two centre-forwards, as everyone knows. And when centre-forwards link and they play together, then it can be a really effective combination, and that's what we look for.
And as you say, they haven't really spent that much time together on the pitch before, but given their recent performances, if that continues, do you think they're a pair that you could rely upon more in the future?
Oh, we'll see, because Barnsley's been a fantastic, player for us over many years. So we've got a lot of history with him and a lot of awareness what he offers. Jay Rodriguez as well, he's done very well for this club in 2 different spells, obviously. So, I think I've always said, I think when everyone's fit, we've got good combinations, and I think we certainly have with them 4.
And just final question, looking to Southampton, they've only won once in the Premier League at home this year, 2021. How difficult is it for a club to overcome a knock in home performances? And obviously Burnley, I think, are unbeaten their last 3 visits to St Mary's, so you guys must be looking to compromise on that again.
Well, they're still a good outfit. I know they've had a trickier kind of second half to the season so far than the first, because they were really strong first half, especially early in the season. That can happen. We know the realities of the Premier League. No, we don't take anyone for granted. They've had a tricky spell. They haven't always won games. They've missed a few with injuries, etc., etc. I think our mentality has been good, home and away. I think we've grown over our seasons in the Premier League, particularly away. When we first got in the division, it was very difficult, to come to understand it, and the experience that you sometimes needed to play away. And I think that's grown. And I think the natural kind of maturation of the group and their understanding of the Premier League, it shows, and I think we've found ways of operating both home and away that can win games. We've got to do that again. Simple.